Welcome back to the Real Estate Den. Today we have episode 26 and we have Annie out of the west side of the country and we have Laura from the east side of the country. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Let's just kind of hop right into it. We have two amazing powerhouses today. Annie is out of Northern California. She's San Francisco, Silicon Valley area. Correct me if I'm not, my geography with California is not great. And that you have been doing this for 20 years. Did you have a career before real estate, or was this sort of all you've ever done?
Yeah, this is basically what I've done. My ex-husband was a pro athlete and we moved, I think it was like 32 times in 11 years. So we moved a lot, and that was back in the day where you couldn't have remote jobs. So I was always, I kept trying to start to get my master's, and we get traded, and so we didn't have online distance learning back then, so it never happened. And then I got into real estate once he retired and we were in one place.
Great. What made you choose that area?
Well, I'm actually from this area, so I grew up about in the mid peninsula, so like 30 minutes south of San Francisco. I hadn't lived there since high school, though. He'd actually played for the San Jose Sharks, which is here, so we had lived here. And then, kept moving around. And I actually started my real estate when we were living in Arizona. And then we moved here like 2 years later. And honestly, our marriage was kind of falling apart. He had a lot of brain trauma from playing hockey, too many head injuries, super sad. And basically wiped out our bank accounts, and my back was against the wall. And I loved real estate from an investment standpoint. We had always bought houses, and I always wanted investment properties. But really, I just had to get my butt in gear and make some money, and it was flexible, and I didn't have family around to help. I had 2 daughters, and it was me, myself, and I. So I started working, doing whatever I needed to do to make money in real estate. And about 5 years of doing that, I can't say I loved it. There was a lot that I dreaded. I'd wake up thinking, oh my gosh, I have to go show property tonight, or just things I wasn't excited about. And that's when I luckily got referred a 81-year-old client named Lillian, who needed help downsizing a 4,000 square foot house into a 400 square foot, room, basically in an assisted living community. And she didn't have family nearby. So I was so excited to help her. I just felt like I won the lottery being able to help her. And I knew I had integrity to help her, because a lot of realtors would have probably taken advantage of the situation just to get her out so they could get an investor to buy that house and flip it. And so I really was super excited to help her. And that's when I realized, you know what, I like this kind of real estate. So it took me probably a good 5 years to really make the transition, because I still have to make money. And but I haven't looked back. And I always say to myself, my emotions are my GPS. And so when I get excited to work with clients, that's what I wanted to do. So I started specializing in downsizing seniors and selling inherited properties. I really get passionate about my inherited properties because, again, there's a lot of realtors will just walk in, a house is 40 years old, so original, boxes everywhere, maybe even old cars in the backyard. And it's just so daunting. And the kids might not live here. And the house is probably still worth $1.5 million. And a lot of realtors are like, oh, we just got to sell it to an investor. Sorry, Laura. And you're the good one. But there, some investors just come in and, want to flip it, which is all great.
There's good and bad of everything. And bad investors are definitely something to be looking out for. And like, as a realtor, we're aware that there are bad realtors you shouldn't look out for as well. Like, it's not.
So, yeah, in this case, it's not even the investor, whether they're good or bad, because they have numbers. They're just, there's no emotion in their purchases.
Right.
But for the realtor, not all investors are created equally. So in those situations, if my clients just want to sell to a cash investor, I'll do an open house off market just for investors. So at least I can help get the client their highest sale price, even as is with everything in the house. So anyway, I love it. I am super passionate about it. I don't dread my work at all. In fact, I'm sure I do way too much, and I don't charge extra, and it's all okay because I'm super happy and I do well enough. So now I do teach other agents to specialize in this niche. And I wrote a book in 2021 that's an Amazon bestseller about this, kind of its whole time in people's life, because it is so overwhelming. And I really just try and take the brunt of the stress off of people and help educate them. And it really is such a unique time in people's life. I always say you only get one shot to sell this family house. It's your parents' legacy, or if someone's downsizing, a lot of times that's their nest egg, especially in our neck of the woods. Like I said, it's hard to find an outhouse under $1 million.
Right.
So, it matters. You get one shot at it, and every situation is different and unique, and you have to listen to your seller, whether it's the elderly person or it's their children, or a sister or brother or something. um, and so listening is key to what matters to them, and how then I can take that information and really get the most money out of the situation for them. If we fix it up a little bit, I don't put a dollar in unless we need to, unless it's going to give them a return. Anyway, that's what I do, and I love it.
That's great. Laura, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about you, where you are, and kind of where you are doing business in this industry.
Yeah, so I'm Laura Sides. Our company is Sides Investing, and we are on the East Coast. We're right outside of Philadelphia in Westchester, Pennsylvania, Chester County. And what we do is work with agents and sellers as investors, and we purchase properties to renovate to sell, so flip essentially. And what we typically do is 6 weeks or less. I started 3 years ago. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I just really, I'm such an extrovert that I was looking for something else to do, and an opportunity presented itself, and we just kind of jumped in and said yes. And what's been wild is God and the universe has just really given us things. We're not really out there seeking for things. They're just at this point coming to us 3 years in, and it's been incredible, and we've been able to help so many people. And then what my husband, his 9 to 5 was enough for our lifestyle, but so we were taking the profits from the flip to buy houses to use as short-term rentals. So we have 2 beach properties that make more than what they cost us to own, and we can use them ourselves. We can share them with family and friends, and then when we're not using them, we rent them out as really nice rentals on Airbnb. So I've kind of learned the sector of how to manage your own rental properties, and we're finishing up a flip now. So.
And I'm assuming, are these beach rentals, they're probably kind of far from where you live.
Yep, they're like 2.5, 3 hours, so not too far.
It's not too bad.
So just enough to sort of, where you, how to manage, because you're not right immediately there. You can't go change a sheet or something. Like, you have to kind of have partners and stuff close by.
Yes, absolutely. So it's all about, in flipping and short-term rentals, it's all about building a good team.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. What is one thing, if you could go back and tell yourself when you started your career, that you wish you started doing sooner?
Man. Well, if we're talking about my career as a middle school science teacher, I wish that, and I think everything happens probably exactly as it should, but man, I wish I got into real estate sooner. It just fits my personality and my lifestyle so much more. I absolutely love the people that I've met doing it. A lot like Annie, I love being able to help people with, from a compassionate angle and an understanding of what they're going through, and change neighborhoods and communities and work with local contractors. So I wish I would have gotten into this so much sooner, because it's been, in the 3 years that we've been doing it, absolutely life-changing.
That's great. That's very common. I think everybody's a little bit like, dang it, wish I would have gotten a little bit sooner. Annie, what do you wish you would have started doing sooner?
I probably wish I had started investing in, rental properties sooner. But I think for me and my career and what I do in real estate, I think I needed to go through what I did, because I had to kind of learn all aspects of the business. So I can't say I would have changed anything there, but I wish just back in my younger days, I kept buying rental properties. Yeah,
Right.
you're doing it right, Laura.
That's a great compliment coming from a top 1%er.
That's, I totally, I do agree. I feel like our paths, like, we have our goals that we want, but it's never the way we think it's going to get there to get to them, like, of course you can make a plan and execute it, but then, things in life and it just sort of happens. Annie, you've been doing this senior real estate and focusing on this primarily for 10 years. What did you think what is the number one thing that makes you really prefer this over, like a first time home buyer or any sort of other transaction? What is like brings you to life that you were just like, yes, I want it? Because these are often very complicated deals. And do typically a good investor sometimes is a good solution because yeah, you got first time home buyer walking into a house full of stuff and cars and they're a little bit like,
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, I love having listings as opposed to working with buyers because I think selling, I have a little bit more control over my time. With buyers, it's like, they would text you in the morning, hey, can we see this, place at 6 tonight when I get off work? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have other things to do, but it was hard to say no. Our market is so fast that you kind of always had to jump on things. So anyway, I love working with sellers. And I really love this demographic, whether it is the senior. It's hard for family members when they have an aging parent, when there's a big life transition like this, to sometimes the parent doesn't want the child really helping. They get ornery, they get angry, it's really complicated. So I can be this buffer, and I love that. And, back in the day when I was trying to get my master's, I wanted to be a counselor, a therapist. So it kind of fits right in with that. I can really kind of be this really great buffer and make sure everyone feels heard. And then when there's an inherited property, I mean, I've had as many as 6 siblings. I've walked into rooms that, I mean, you could cut the air with a knife. There was so much tension. And I really have to manage that. And I love that. And then I love also creating my team, kind of what Laura said about having your team in place. I have senior move managers, I have handymen, I have contractors, I have inspectors. I kind of have this team now that I feel like I can't do it without them. I trust them. I've built those relationships. So I don't feel alone in real estate. I think when you're a buyer's agent, you can kind of feel alone unless you're part of a team. So yeah, that's definitely why I think I love this niche.
Well, and you're so niche too, to just like sellers specifically, like no buyers, like this is, and I think that's really important to sort of identify. And I think we get sort of lost in the minute, like if you're in real estate and you're kind of struggling to get consistent business, usually getting more in depth doesn't feel like it's the right decision, but it is, just get more involved.
Oh, I totally agree. I always kind of say it's kind of like an attorney. I think in general, realtors don't have the best reputation. A lot of people say we're just like used car salesmen. And I think we do such a disservice to ourselves to be like, oh, I help anyone buy and sell. It's like, really, what, they're different skills. And so like attorneys will specialize, like helping with estate and real estate planning or divorce or business law. And that's kind of how I feel, like you said, a buyer's agent and a seller's agent are very different skills. I have an agent that I pass buyers to if I do get them. And she loves buyers, she loves doing open houses and loves meeting new buyers. And I'm just like, that's not as much for me. So again, what you feel like you love, you'll be probably better at.
Right. Absolutely. Laura,
Annie, is that your book behind you?
Yeah, this is my book.
Okay, awesome.
we'll have links in the show notes. What's it called?
It's called Next Chapter Real Estate. So
Great.
I always brand myself. I'm also not your typical realtor that I really don't want my face and my name everywhere. So to me, this was a way I could market myself too. That was kind of why I came up with the idea. But I always brand myself as Next Chapter Real Estate because it's like, an aging parent going into assisted living, it can be really depressing. But I was like, hey, it's just the next chapter. There could be some really neat opportunities to meet new people or whatever. And then same thing, inherited properties. It's so emotional. Like, and my title person, we here in California, we use title companies to do the closings. And she knows this is an inherited property. You do not walk in that room. Congratulations, you sold the house. Because one time I had 5 siblings, and one sibling the whole time was like, just couldn't even barely talk. She was just so sad. And I would always be like, Rose, I need to hear your voice. What do you want in this situation? Whatever. Anyway, day after closing, she committed suicide. So you have to be so sensitive to what people are going through. And with, multiple siblings, sometimes one sibling just sees dollar signs and just like good riddance, where the other one is a mess. So
more-
anyway, so next chapter is like, hey, so next chapter real estate, I kind of hesitated with this name because I thought it just sounds like it's just about real estate when it's so much more. I talk to people about, so much else, but that's my book.
Love that.
And totally good reminder, especially too, because I feel like in real estate, especially, we love to post the pictures of us with congratulations, real estate happy. And not every real estate transaction is happy. Not every seller, like not everybody really wants to be there. And it's just so important to find someone who specializes. So great. Laura, what is the craziest thing you've seen in a house purchase so far?
Ooh, what's the craziest thing I've seen in a house purchase?
Or just like you walked out and you're just like, holy shit, like that just happened. Like,
You know what's sad is seeing, and people have different life circumstances and mental health circumstances, but or just family circumstances where they don't have the care and support for the elderly that was needed. And sometimes it's just really sad to see how some people live or have been living, the conditions that they're living in is heartbreaking sometimes. And you just kind of have to separate it and make it a business. And then going back to what Annie said, usually going into a closing table, I'll prep our whole team, because a lot of times there's people coming in saying hi or whatever. And I'm like, we are not talking about what I'm going to do to the house or what I have done in flips. Like, this is all business, because it can sometimes be a very sensitive situation. And we can talk about that once the family leaves.
right, totally. What?
I think we probably have so much similar experiences, Laura, because I walked in some houses and like the kitchen is just 2 walls of mold. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like it's so sad. And it's being able to, especially if the family members are there or even the elderly person, not having that shocked face, like, oh gosh, oh, it's so great. You've lived here so long and you've had so many memories,
What a beautiful home.
Yeah.
Looks like so much love. But then what's amazing, and Annie, I wonder if you can relate to this, is when we do, so our first flip, it was a lady and there was mold in the house. And when we were able to move her and help facilitate the move to a 55 and older community, her health increased dramatically when she moved. And it was a really tough thing for her to do, but it was between having all of these new friends and having a clean place to live. It was just, it gave her, it was changed significantly for the better.
I love that. Yes. Love that.
That's so often too with this community. I think they get really, because like the adults that are aging right now that are looking into possibly transitioning are like from the generation of like, this is my house. I bought one house and this is where I've been at. Whereas when I feel like as our generation starts to age, I don't know if we'll be as fighting on moving, because I mean, I moved a lot in my younger 20s. I've bought 3 houses so far. You know what I mean? Like moving is easier. But it's so often I do see them sort of getting in their own way because they're so like, I don't want to lose my house, because they're just not really seeing that a shift could be great. If you go from your house that's full of stuff from 50 years, that's not organized, that's dusty, and you don't have anyone checking on you, and it's hard to get to your mailbox, and it like, oh my God, like, yes, you had your kids in this house, but like you don't anymore. So it's so important to have a specialist and a team and people who do truly care, right? And don't see those dollar signs, because there are, there's, I mean, every day there's someone who's scamming someone else, right? So it's good to have good people in this industry, because yeah, it's the most emotional of the deals that I've done. I haven't specialized it. I'm in management now. But it's the few deals I've done with that community has just been like gut wrenching, and I remember them forever. Like it's also like the most impactful too. So that's great you guys are doing it, and like I said, on 2 different sides of the nation, which is cool. Tell us what you do to help identify your niche. Like what, it's one thing to be like, hey, find what you like, and I think you had said it earlier, Annie, where your emotions are your compass. So like how do you tell us how you find your how you get closer every day, because I feel like we wish we would wake up and we just like had a note that was like, here's your niche, congratulations, like go forth and do well, but it's not that easy to sort of find it. How do you narrow it down?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I was doing a lot of networking. Well, when I met that first senior, I was like, wow, this is interesting. So I started to meet other people and network with attorneys and senior move managers and just sort of talk to them about it and their experience. And I just kept loving it more and more. So I just literally was meeting anyone and everyone. And I did that for a few years. And, I don't do as much now. I just kind of get my leads. I honestly can't say I really do anything for marketing anymore. It's just, I'm super blessed that I get referrals. It is a little challenging because a lot of my clients, if they're seniors downsizing, a lot of times they're leaving the area and going somewhere less expensive. So they're not a referral source here, and a lot of the adult children in the area. So that's another one. So it's kind of a little bit more challenging, but again, I have enough, people and have networked in the past. So it's just sort of the engine is already going.
Well, and I was talking about that with my husband today. Like the people who do real estate career right are not cold calling 10 years in. Like if you're still like it's a vehicle, you have your database. As long as you have a system with your database and you work that, you can get your database to a point where these are the only people you talk to. And if you're not a 98% extrovert, you don't want to talk to anybody else. Like, I think that's the dream right here. But until then, you have to have your pillars and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, I mean, it's just a great example that for agents maybe that are on the beginning of their career, like it is possible. And Annie's sitting here like, yep, I've built the machine, and you're there for what you need, and that's amazing. Because yeah, you've got, I think there's like this balance of you have to do the hard thing, right, to get the business, but also be smart about making the hard thing kind of work on its own a little bit too,
And it sounds like, I swear, it's really, you're like, when you like what you're doing, to me, even when I was networking a lot more, I was fascinated learning about all of these little niches of people helping the seniors demographic or estate sales or something. And it was always so fun to meet the people. And so I looked forward to it. Before that, any sort of networking or door knocking, or you said cold calling, I think I did that one day. I couldn't do it, but when you like what you're doing, it really doesn't feel like work. So now between the real estate I do and helping other realtors, I don't really feel like I work that often. It's like I get up and get to do what I do.
Right. You're just existing, and
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
that's the dream, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Love it. Laura, how do you sort of find your niche and find your path? And because you obviously had to do some heart following to go from teaching to investing.
I totally agree with Annie that I don't do that much, right? So there's never really been cold calling or door knocking on my part. It was just connecting with good people and going for it, like saying yes and continuing to say yes. And I don't feel like I do that much work. I love every aspect of what I'm able to do. Sometimes it gets a little crazy, but I think that, it's just all of that craziness is just a blessing because it's coming together. So I'm obviously not as far down the real estate path as Annie, and I think what she has accomplished is incredible. I cannot wait to read her book. And I admire that. It's just connecting with people that are going to grow and just kind of following that path that I feel is right. And so I don't even know that I have a specific niche, right? It's just kind of continuing to do what I feel like is right and enjoy and making sure I'm enjoying it on the way.
True. I think the enjoyment, like you both have mentioned, is just a huge piece. No, I mean, no one wants to work with that. And we hear them all, we see them all, especially like in the agent side, like I was at some big brokerages in the beginning of my career, and they all go out for happy hour after, and then like some of them are complaining that their client's calling them, and then I would be like, you have a client calling you? Like I would murder 3 people right now to have a client. Like, do you, and so when you have this positive outlook on things, you get more of what you like and what you sort of focus on. And if you focus on the bad, you see more bad. And it sounds so cliche, but like something that simple takes sort of years to kind of, implement. But yeah, but if you go into it sort of knowing and like, okay, I'm just going to be positive about everything in real estate, which real estate will test you with being positive about everything. It's kind of foolproof. You just kind of got to be ready to, just show up and do the thing. What do you ladies do? What do your mornings look like? Do you have any sort of morning routines that you do? affirmations, journaling, working out.
You go first, Laura, because I keep talking too much.
No, good. I can't wait to hear your affirmations. No, I'm just kidding. That's a good question. So Megan, I still have 3 little kids at home. So what I would like to be a morning routine is usually somewhat chaotic, I guess. And we try to spend a lot of good quality time together in the morning. We do breakfast, right? And then lately, so it just changes with their schedule, but they're doing like a little camp in the morning. So I'll drop them off, go work out, answer some emails from the gym, or do whatever I need to do. And then, like today, I went over to, we have a listing going live tomorrow. So I like watered the grass, talked to the neighbors, and, just checked in to make sure that everything's on the right path with the people on our team. And right now they're napping, and then we'll go to the pool later.
I love it. It's the routines definitely change when you have little kids. I have 2 under 2 now, but I'm going on 9 years. I'm in my 9th year of real estate. So I had no kids before, and my routine, whoo, I was getting it in the morning, guys. And then now that I have babies, the only thing I definitely get done is I do my morning. I write 1 page of journal, and like that gets done, because it's no longer what it was before, but it will come back. My children will become older and it will be fine. So Annie, what do your mornings look like?
Exactly. Well, it's funny. So my kids are, out of the house and everything. So I'm in a totally different phase. But a thing I have realized is that I go through phases with my morning routine. And when I had kids, it was more like I had an index card. And the first thing I would do, I had it next to my bed. I would just read that because that was kind of all I had time for. And I would try and listen to audiobooks because that was before podcasts and books on tape, but slip in my DVD player. And so I try and listen to positive things. If I dropped my kids off, I would start listening. So I was always very focused, and I always kept the same affirmation card in my wallet and at my desk with my computer. So I would try and read it throughout the day. And then, once I got older, I've gone through phases of I would get up and, read, write, meditate. And then I go through phases that it didn't feel fun anymore. So right now I'm in a phase that I drink celery juice every morning. So I make my celery juice. I do not look at my phone at all until I get my morning going, but I'll get my celery juice and I go walk around my backyard barefoot, and I talk to the trees and the birds, and I just sort of just really try and be present and kind of ground myself. And then I'll usually try and do some gratitude journaling. And that's kind of the phase I'm in right now, and I'm good with it. But I do like listen to a lot of positive, YouTubes and podcasts and everything throughout my day. It's like sad I don't listen to music as much in the car because I'm always like listening to positive things. No, but I do think it's important. And Megan, you kind of mentioned the office. I used to work at big offices, and I always felt like the brokers were always encouraging you, oh, Anna, you got to be here. And oh, we're doing the barbecue this week. And hey, everyone's going for lunch this day. And I was always like, I have to make money. Like, this isn't social hour. I love my coworkers,
Great.
but I would hear so much negative noise, like you said, or someone complaining about their client. I was like you, hey, I'm really grateful I have clients. I have to be focused while I'm here and get out. And so the last 7 years or so, I've been at boutique firms and pretty much work at home because the noise was not helpful for me. It created anxiety and just this fear, kind of like what's happening. And now I'm like, you know what? People are always buying and selling, whether interest rates are high or low, whether someone's in the president's office or someone isn't. It's like, you got to just stay focused on what you do and enjoy it. And so my morning routine sometimes is my daily routine of just staying positive. And it's not easy sometimes. I stress and I'll worry. I have to deal with a foundation problem right now, and I feel sad for my client, but yeah, turn it around. That's my long answer.
I love that. And just the grounding in the morning, I think, is great. And just as long as there is something, right? I think that the whole point is just identifying that you have a routine, because people
Yes,
have a routine. You just haven't written it down. And once you identify what you're currently doing, you can change it to be what you want to be doing, which those actions will then create the person you want to become. Like, it's not, and it's not like this beat up session, you know what I mean? Like, oh, and that's a lot of those times at those happy hours, at those just with bigger groups of people. It's not even like firm specific. You just get 100 freaking realtors, jackasses. I'm sorry, guys, in a room, like 80 of them are gonna be jackassy. Like, I don't know, it's just the way it works. Like, and that is why we have such a big difference between agents that really do produce and agents that sort of don't. And I think that that's a lot of it, because like, especially like I would be sitting at my big box brokerage and we would hear the statistics. Only 2%, only 20% of the realtors do the deals. 80% doesn't. Well, that means if I'm sitting in a room with you people, only two of us are worth a shit. Like, like honestly.
I
So
think they're like meant to breed fear in us or something and make you feel like you need them because it's so hard that you have to stay with the brokerage, and
right.
stay with them, the other companies aren't very helpful or blah. And there was always that noise. And so many brokers past and my current one, when I was saying I was going to specialize in this, they were so, they just kept saying, Annie, you can't do that. Like you have to still work with buyers, or you have to work with other sellers, or, and I'm like, it's not like I won't work with certain other sellers, but really, if I stay focused on what I like, I'll keep attracting that. And so, yeah, you really have to stay in your own lane in that sense. And for Laura, like, you're really good. It's like you're in a different season with your young kids, and it's like you're doing great. And it's like, make it work for you, whether you're doing how many rituals a day or calling, or it's like, no, do what works for you, and you're killing it.
Thank you. I think it's neat how, similar vibes usually attract each other. So, and I feel that here, right? And I think it's incredible how it works that I didn't know you guys at all
Yeah.
before this conversation. And I completely agree with everything you're saying. And it's amazing, right? And I think the positive outlook is just so important. And I love it. If I'm in the car, I'm not usually listening to the radio. There's usually a YouTube affirmations on, or something really positive, or something I can learn from. And it's neat to connect with other people who feel the same way and are the same. So that's cool.
When you both mentioned you're immersing yourself in it. I think a lot of times too, like we'll do like a book club or a mastermind or something, and well, I did that, it didn't work. Like I did an open house and I didn't get anything. It's like, did you do them consistently for 90 days? Did you do them for consistently for a while? I listened to a positive thing this morning, and I'm just not positive yet. It's just like, no, you have to be listening all the time. Like, obviously, Laura and Annie are extremely positive women, and they just said they're listening to things all the time, and they both admitted to getting stressed out. So if
Yeah.
you're like, you are still going to experience sadness, even if you're positive, like you might as well just keep trying. Oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and you're telling yourself it doesn't work. Everything works. There's a solution to every sort of problem, and you're more likely to find it the more aligned you are, just in general. And that's what I really, really enjoyed with this podcast, has been seeing the sort of organic conversations come with people who don't know each other, who I literally like, I'm such an old lady. This is literally like how I write it down. Like I print off my type form and write handwritten notes on it, because I have a very limited technology area. So like Michelle and Amanda help me so much. But like, it's literally, I send out a text, here are the dates and times, and everything falls the way it's supposed to be. When episodes cancel or like guests will switch, it's always crazy how the guests that end up doing the switching like need to connect. And yeah, I totally get it. I'm loving all of this, and I hope you ladies will come back season 3. I'll be in touch when we start filming for that. All right, what would you go back and tell yourself, like maybe words of encouragement? If you could go back and talk to yourself, maybe not necessarily change anything, but what would you sort of tell yourself at the beginning, if you knew then what you know now?
I love this question. I think for me, and I'm so excited to hear what Annie has to say, but I think for me is, and this goes to anyone, right? Like you absolutely can do it. You don't need to know the end. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need the next step. And if you make that step and believe in yourself and just go for it, you'll attract the people that you need to attract to take the next one and the next one. And you don't need to know the big picture, just the next step. And you should just try it. Absolutely.
I
Yeah, I
love
totally love that. Yeah, that's really good. And for me, I think I still work on this, but it's always working out for me. So even when things don't feel right, I'm going to learn something from it that, who knows, will make me so much better off down the road. So just trusting it's always working out, even though you're not sure why or how or where you're really going. Just kind of let go and following how you feel, but it's always working out for you.
I like that. It's always working out for me. And just those quick little things, affirmations don't have to be a big long creed that you recite in the morning. You just a little thing to switch out when you go, oh, this always happens to me. Nope, everything's always changing for my better, or just something to sort of shift that. Because I mean, yeah, it's just the world is what you see. We're starting a book club tomorrow, The Happy Pocket Full of Money. infinite wealth and abundance here and now. And it talks about just sort of like, you've got, you create, right? Like what you're looking at, what you focus on expands. So, and how gratitude is sort of the base of everything. And I think that is one of the biggest commonalities between everybody who's seen success in real estate, honestly, is that gratitude, thankfulness. Yeah, I don't know anybody who's been like, real estate's been good to me, who has a shitty attitude. Like they might have like a shitty personality, like there's a difference there, but like their attitude around the work and around the real estate is always positive. Because you don't get more of what you hate. That would be horrible. Well, you can, but anyway, where can our listeners find you if they want to continue the conversation or chat with you more? Tell us websites, contact info, Instagram, however you like people to get a hold of you.
You want to go first?
Probably Instagram is easiest. Next Chapter Annie. That's me, and I've got links to all the stuff I do there.
That's amazing. So I am sides_investing on Instagram, or we're sidesinvesting.com.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.